All right. Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Michelle Got Goals podcast. And this week, I have Carol Huls with me of DittoForm. And DittoForm is kind of something I will let her explain because she can do it so much better than me. But Carol has been working in her business, I believe, since about 2015, right?
That's correct.
All right. So obviously, she knows how to set a goal and meet a goal and keep it moving and keep it going. So, yeah, Carol, if you wouldn't mind, share with us a little bit about how you got started in entrepreneurship and how you got to where you are today.
So I fell into all of this almost literally. I didn't start out wanting to be a business owner. I didn't know a lot about the field that I ended up in. I don't know about manufacturing when I started. So it was all learning. What got it all started was in 2015. I was in between jobs and I was taking on little side jobs.
Mm-hmm.
I had no real job. I had a lot of side jobs. And one of the side jobs was with a sewing studio. And I was just helping out the owner doing, little things on the internet, answering emails, answering the phones, bringing the mail, things like that. And she was developing a product on the side for her. And she's a creator. She had all these visions. And so in the sewing world, there's such a thing as a dress form. Mm-hmm. And what it's used for is sewists used it as a test to see what it will look like on a real figure. So you have a flat pattern that you cut the fabric out and you sew it and you can test it out on a dress form. And what Allison wanted to do was to create a custom dress form that was a real person, because the ones you see in the stores, they aren't based on real people. They're not anatomically correct. And if if they're close, they're not an average person even.
Right.
And so Allison wanted something that was more realistic. And she tried all the other things that can be done, duct tape models and paper tape and plaster, and you pad out something that exists to make it you. But it's all based on imperfect science. And even the duct tape ones, which work pretty well for shape, they're really heavy and you can't pin into them and they turn out really ugly. And
right.
So anyway, so she created this thing. She knew that 3D scanning existed. She knew that, what she wanted the end product to be, and she figured it out. She figured out how to make an image of a real body, how to get it, and how to make that image back into a physical thing. Where I came into it was I was just there. I was working in her space. And when it went big, when the idea went from idea to a thing and then got big real fast, she needed someone to make them. And I was there.
Okay.
Well, that's how I started making them in the business. Fast forward to a couple of years later, she didn't want to run it as a business anymore. Her idea is a creator. Some of the things that needed to be done, she couldn't physically do. We needed to go to customers instead of having them come to us. And she couldn't do that. She couldn't travel due to her family situation. And I could. And so rather than add me in as a business partner, she decided to sell me the business. Her and her business partner, Mary, sold me the business. I moved back to Michigan, to the Detroit area. And during the headlights, owning a business, and here I was. So that's how it all happened in a nutshell. And here I am today.
Okay, so you said you didn't really, it fell in your lap, kind of.
Yeah.
It wasn't your idea. You bought the business, which totally makes sense. And so why keep going on? Like, is it scary? You're an entrepreneur by stumbling onto it, but you're rolling with it. And what do you like about entrepreneurship? Because you could have also went and started a new job.
Yeah. So true story. I did buy the business as a way to get back to Michigan. I knew that if I just came back and got a job, it would have to be a good job in order for myself to feel comfortable and just the people around me to keep the level of respect that I wanted. And so in purchasing the company, that gave me leverage. I could come back and try this and see how it worked out. And then if it failed, no big deal. So I kind of went into it as if I couldn't fail, because if I did fail, I'd gotten back to Michigan and That was my real goal. But once I started doing it, then I realized that both I love the product, even though it's not something that I would have thought I would have enjoyed. I do love it. I love talking to the customers. And it's been such a great challenge to figure out everything that I need to figure out in order to make it work. And that challenge is what I really like. Learning something new from everything. I don't know if I actually answered your question. So I don't know if I answered your question.
You did. You did. You fell in love with your business, and
I did.
Absolutely.
Right. And so why keep going? So during the whole shutdown, staying at home, reevaluating life phase that we just went through, I had a choice. I could have stopped because it's hard. It was hard to begin with, and it got harder to figure out how all the logistics to get to people, different laws in different states, because I go to my clients. Then I could have said, not worth it, gonna take another job. And there's jobs everywhere right now. And so I thought about it hard, but I wanted to keep doing this because I love it and my customers love it. The ones that get it, they've been waiting and waiting and waiting for a product like this for decades, it sounds like sometimes. So it's been very rewarding.
Yeah. So it sounds like I said, you fell in love with your own product, and it sounds like you really enjoy running a business too, figuring things out, making it work.
Yeah.
So what are some of the things that you shifted or goals that you set for your business when you took it over, or how was it different than you thought it would be? You know what I mean? Like, I'm sure you went into it thinking one thing, but now 6 years later, it's a little different, or you switched some things or made it better.
Right. So oftentimes people will, when they're talking about business and sale, a business, it's all about sales. You got to up your sales. You got to increase your sales. There's a sales number that's a target. And I was always uncomfortable with that. I don't want to sell somebody something that they don't need.
Right.
Yeah, they got to need it. Like, not just want it. It's got to be something they're going to use and find value of. I've never liked the concept of bait and switch, or, bring you in and then upsell you. I've been uncomfortable with that my whole life. And so I thought, I'm just not going to be a good salesperson because of that. Turns out I am a good salesperson because of that, because I know what people will want and I know why they would benefit from having my product. Or if they're not, I know how to tell them, this isn't going to work for you, try something else. And that level of respect that comes with that is amazing. So what shifted for me was just that whole mindset around sales, is that I'm not trying to con someone into buying something to spend money so that I can exist.
Right.
I'm existing because people want something and I can help them. And so that mindset has really helped, because now I'm not thinking, oh, I need to sell 300. I get to my goal a different way than just magically picking one out of the air, so.
I mean, it makes sense. I mean, to me, we talk, so sales for me is really hard.
Yeah.
But we have totally different businesses too. But it makes sense. You have to come to terms. You do need sales for every business. I would think for yours, you probably also have a lot of word of mouth through social media.
Yeah.
So
how
do you get your new clients? Talk about that a little bit.
Right. So that is one of the biggest differences about my business than most that you would talk to. Probably yours falls into the same category though too. It's not something that everybody wants.
Right.
It's not like a pencil or something that everybody would use, soap, something. It's something that a very specific group of people will want and enjoy. So it's not for everybody. And so in acknowledging that, then you can specifically, think about who the people are you're going to talk to, and how to find them becomes a different question than just advertising, a commercial. Buying a commercial on the Super Bowl isn't going to help me at all. And so it might help me a little, but it's not going to get me
percentage.
Compared to a strategic, advertisement in a sewing magazine that my sewists are going to read, or finding an influencer who speaks to the cosplay world, who understands that world and how they could use this product, their own body to make better costumes. That's a far more better. It's a better my time. And then also I'm reaching the people who really want my product. And so that's
so were you aware of all this when you bought your business?
No, none of it. I learned it all on the way. And at first, half of this stuff didn't make sense to me. People would constantly say to me, who is your target customer? And what else do they do? Make an avatar.
Who's your avatar?
Make the avatar of your ideal customer. And I would think, well, I don't know what that means. But now I know what it means. It means, take 3 of my customers right now from very different walks of life. What do they have in common? What are they doing? They're looking at their hobby as a hobby that's serious. They're not just walking around a craft store. They're looking for information. And so where are they looking? So that helps a lot. And then what else do they do with their time? There's a lot more in common with these people than my customers than I had originally thought, because some of them are doctors, some of them are stay-at-home moms, some of them are working 3 jobs, but they love the sewing. Some of them are trying to be young designers. By young, I mean not in age, but in experience. And so they all come from a different place, but they're all trying to find a tool that will make their life easier. They're all, investigating new technologies. So there's a common thread of attitude that goes through all of them, regardless of their economic status and things. So that has been helpful. And then they all like to talk to each other. Even if they're a super introvert, they'll talk to another person who's sewing or doing cosplay or whatever it is, so they talk to each other about what works. And that word of mouth has been the way that most of my business has expanded, where I've got most people.
So with your business right now, you're tugging along. So what goals do you currently have for yourself? 2022 is around the corner.
2022. Yeah. So early on, I would back into the goal. I'd say, how much money do I need to make so I can pay myself a certain amount of money per month? Because I got bills, personal bills. That's how much money I have to make. So I even did this when I was working a job. Like I knew the salary that I asked for had to cover those expenses. If it covered more, great, then I would get more expenses. But it was based on, I need this much per month to make my car payment, my house payment, whatever, food, all that stuff. I had a budget of sorts. Didn't actually follow it, but I knew how much money I wanted for each of those categories. And so that's how I thought of it. And so in thinking about how many ditto forms, how many units I had to sell in order to cover rent, both in my shop facility and in my home, because I'm paying myself, then I'd just back myself into that number. And that was, 6 to 10 a month. I know it's a big spread, but it depends on all the math, which is not my strong point. So I made it a really big spread. So it was 10 a month was my magic number. And now when I'm looking at it, that kind of math still factors in, but it narrowed me down too much because I was only thinking of expenses that I have now.
Mm-hmm.
That loan early so I can hire more people. Like my brain couldn't wrap around the expansion of that. So now how many can I possibly make physically? And that's my goal times 2. Because if I shoot it way, way high, then I'll meet what I can actually do. And then I'll have enough to live and hire whoever I need to hire. And so I've switched that to what I can do, to what I want to do, and then back it down. So
because we have to aim high.
Gotta aim high. That was probably the biggest thing that impacted me this past year. I know we've talked about this before, but I was listening to a podcast with someone and there was a segue. So that they were just riffing on different ideas. And the interviewer asked the captain of industry, this woman, what she would have told herself with the first business she started. She had started 5 or 6 different businesses. And she said, I would tell myself to aim higher. I wasn't aiming high enough. I thought I was aiming high, but I wasn't aiming high enough. And it just kind of struck me like, I don't really aim high. I aim
Right.
for
You sound
good.
very practical.
I'm very practical, but
Me too.
also I didn't want to think, oh, I can sell 100 and make $100 million. Therefore, I can spend $100 million. I didn't want to spend the money before I made it.
Right.
So,
Okay.
so I didn't want to back myself into a corner. But when you limit yourself too much, then you don't grow at all.
So you don't grow.
So I don't want to think I'm going to make $100 million and spend, $1 less than that before I actually make it, but
Right.
trying to shoot a little bit higher so I can have the capacity to get bigger.
And it's been a common thread with all my guests so far. They say, write down your goals. I mean, one of them even said, if you write it down, it has to happen. So, and that's what this is just about. It's just making sure we stay focused on what we're working towards.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, like I said, you still have to pay. It's not all about money, but you still have to live,
Right.
But it's also a plus that you love your business. It keeps you going.
Yep.
Now you can start growing now that you went through the growing pains and all that, and have you have a solid idea of your audience and everything. So now that you have done it for so long, 6 years, what are tips that you would have for fellow entrepreneurs that are starting out?
Surround yourself with people who know everything that you don't know. And you don't have to learn everything. Like the math trips me up still to this moment. But now I've hired someone who takes care of my books, the basic everyday book stuff. Because if I spent my time on that, I would spend 75% of my time trying to figure out the books and then the rest on, and I don't have that kind of time. So I could figure it out, but it's better that I hire somebody who already knows how to do that, who can tell me things I don't know. I don't have to learn it right now. Obviously I'm overseeing it, but I don't have to spend my waking hours figuring it out because she knows. I don't need to. And I trust her. So, find people who know things you don't know and add them to your team. And your team doesn't have to be someone who actually works for you. I pay my bookkeeper to do that, but it doesn't have to be that. It could be somebody who, just encourages you, who does know things about investing, that's willing to, give you a little tips on how to do this, who knows how to write the SBA grant and knows how, what information to include or whatnot, my machinist is always giving me great new ideas. I don't pay him for that. But it's the kind of person he is. He's going to think about an idea and share it. The people I rent from, same thing. They're creators. Creators are the best because they have ideas coming out all over the place and they can't stop it.
Right.
But mostly surround yourself with people who believe in what you're doing. I hesitated because they need to believe in you. What you're doing, yes. But if they believe in you, you can do it.
Right, because if they wouldn't believe in you, they wouldn't share with you either.
Right. They're not going to waste their time.
I wasn't going to say it like that. Exactly.
Right. Or they will. It's just different. It's just different. When you have people who believe in you, then you can see it and do it. I have a friend who hates the phrase, fake it till you make it. There's something about the phrase that just bugs him. I fake it till I make it all the time because I step forward and think, I don't know what I'm doing running a business. Here I am networking. I'm a business owner. How are you? And I just, and here 3 years later, I can explain to a table full of people, of strangers I don't know, in a social setting, what I do succinctly. So I sound super, super smart. No, I am, but I do sound like I am. And so before I would have been like deer in the headlights trying to explain what was going on. And, now I can do it and actually believe it because somebody else believed in me.
Right. And I think it comes with experience.
Yeah.
And I have no problem with the phrase fake it till you make it, because I feel like when we step out in faith and start a business, we obviously know to an extent what we're doing, but we might be a little insecure about some aspects of our business. But we cannot go out there in the world and display that.
Yeah.
I'm not going to go out there and show my insecurities, because how are they going to invest in me if I'm like, I'm kind of sure about what I'm doing. But I'm still, no. We have to fake it till we make it, and we have to present ourselves so people do want to work with us, because we do know what we're doing in our
Right.
business now.
Right.
I love the phrase, fake it till you make it.
Yeah. And I think part of what people who don't like it is that fake sounds like it's deceptive. You're like deceiving someone. Faking, and I'm more like, live into it, speak it into existence, kind of fake it. And what you said reminded me of something else that I heard this year about, sometimes women, we wait until we have it all figured out before we go out. Even if our personality, like mine is like on the Myers-Briggs thing, on the jump in one, the J, all the way to the, I'll still wait until I know I'm going to sound smart before I say something out loud. And it need to be braver with just try it. Little boys will try anything, and we encourage that. And so if we can start encouraging that consciously, I don't think we do it on purpose with little girls. We don't hold them back, but I think if we consciously treat them exactly the same, you can do this, you can be brave and try it out. If it doesn't work, go move on, then I think that will change a lot of dynamics. It'll be easier to stop pigeonholing a gender into a certain behavior.
And you're right. We don't do it on purpose. But guys were like, oh yeah, just get up if you fall,
shake it off.
Yeah, but girls, we don't do the same. And that's why I think we almost have to fake it till we make it, because we will hold ourselves back. So we're not even faking it. We might think, but like you said, women tend to wait till everything is perfect.
Yep.
And when you start this journey called entrepreneurship, you just cannot wait for perfect. You're just going to hold yourself back.
Honestly, it'll never happen.
Right.
Because there's just no way. With a business, there's so many things that you just never, there's still things that pop up that I'm like, oh, I guess I need to take care of that.
There's so many moving parts. And then when you think you have a grip on it, then there's a pandemic. And then, everything is, you don't have glue anymore, it's just crazy town. So
yeah.
I
supply chain ends, nobody's importing or exporting, all of that stuff. It's just so much that's out of your control. And then when you start listing everything that you have to do, what hats you wear, you're making decisions on what to buy and what not to buy, but you're also actually sweeping the floor,
Right.
or, whatever that is. But everyone sweeps the floor, whether it's, in their shop or not. Like there's other things we have to do. And when I start thinking about all the things I need to think about and do, I got a folder this thick of my goals of like, oh, what do I want to do in marketing? What do I do this? What do I want to do that? And there seems like there's not enough time in the day.
I will tell you, there is not enough time, but I still work full time. So.
And you still work full time. That's an advantage I have that most people don't have, is I went all in, knowing that if I failed, it was going to be okay. Like I had that no fear thing, rather than, trying to make it work enough so that I had something before I went all in,
Because that was one of my questions, how you prepared, but you just went all in.
I just went all in. I mean, yeah. But I wanted to move back to Michigan. That was my primary goal. And when I figured out the way to do it was going to be to run this business, then I started picking up the little pieces I knew I needed to move logistically, like how to get the foam, how to make them differently than we made them there in Washington, D.C., where I was at. And I thought that was really pretty much the basics. I'd figure out the accounting, then what else did I need to know? And then I was like, oh, wait, you have to actually figure out how to run a website. You have to figure out like how to set it up, how to change the font. If we want to add one little thing to a website, you could change everything.
And it's so time consuming.
And that alone, I'm so grateful to have found somebody who can handle that part for me. I would pay them. And before I was afraid to spend money on stuff like that too. Like why would I spend money on starting the website until I wasn't ready with this? And if I like increased that, then I was going to have to do this. And I'd back myself into this, oh, I can't do any of that until this. And then there's nothing got done. So at some point you have to like put it all away and start it. You have to think about it in a different way in order to get forward. I don't know how to explain how to do that, but that whole take 3 deep breaths, just stop and just breathe 3 minutes for 3 breaths in and out. It does reset your brain and something new will come. So.
No, I think that's pretty important what you said, that, at some point you have to reach out and ask for help or get help. Otherwise you get so caught up. Like I'm, I don't make much, I don't have a big budget for marketing, for example. So today I made my own flyers for my podcast, for the promotion for, people's episodes, and, send it to some people. One friend was like, she just redid it in 2 minutes and it was way better. And I'm like, what? Like, I have the tools. I thought I did something.
Yeah.
But, no. So you at some point you have to, and I did for my business, with, teams like Fiverr for my marketing, because who has time, we can take the time and sit, till midnight and try to figure these things out. But you have to be at some point, I think, let go a little bit. It's also letting go, because some people can know more things in certain fields than you do, like you said, with your finances.
Yeah.
Finances are pretty cut and dry, but still.
Not if you don't have a math brain. Huh? Not if you don't have a math brain,
Exactly.
And the fact that, so it all spins together in the end, because if you had told me that investing in a bookkeeper was going to make sure that I had all this other stuff, I would have said, I don't understand how that relates together. But now I'm like, oh, investing in that bookkeeper opened up all of these different worlds, because now I had the documentation to get the grants that I needed during that pandemic. I wouldn't have had that before, that I did file things correctly, that I am in compliance with all of these other things. So that one, thing that saved me time and headache actually opened up a thing that I didn't, a whole realm of opportunity I didn't think I had. I didn't even know about. And so I assume that that's the same with all other things, with the website, with the marketing, with the, when I do hire someone to handle production or sales, if I get the new equipment to do different kinds of, client interactions, all of this is going to open up worlds that I can't even imagine right now.
Right.
And that's what entrepreneurship is having the faith to know it's bigger. Right.
Yeah.
And just.
Yep. And of course you have it, because you did start this business, you did buy it, and you took it to Michigan and you grew it.
Yeah. So and it wasn't mine since 2015, it was mine since 2018.
Okay.
So I had the chance to learn some of it before I did it, and I didn't create it out of nothing. So some of the rest of you have an idea and you're still creating it out of nothing. Right. Into something. So I had 2 advantages. It was already established in a way, and I could go all in. If it was different, it would have taken me a lot longer to get to this point. And I'm still, what is that, 2018? That's 4 years ago now. So all in for 4 years to just maybe break even, maybe. But I'm having fun, and I can see the potential. And that, that's what's changed about myself from Carol before, and Carol business owner, opportunity, person, entrepreneur. So,
but that's another thing that we have to talk about, is it takes a while. You can have the greatest idea in the world, and every blue moon, it could happen that, DittoForm goes on the Oprah show and then you sell 1 million overnight. Things happen to certain people, but most they don't. We have to steadily put in the work, and you will get your return on your investment, on your time and passion and everything.
Yeah.
But that's
No.
not, it's not stressed enough, because we have the internet and everybody just presents themselves to be, oh, everything is just so great. And, I sold this so easily on, I don't know, on Etsy. But those stories, there are a lot of people grinding and just trying to make it happen.
Yeah. I heard a musician once, this was years ago, and I don't know who it was anymore, but they said it took me 20 years to be an overnight success. And I thought, yes, I know that feeling now. It's been, a lot of late nights, a lot of trying to figure out how to run a database, forget the math, set that whole thing aside, like databases, and how do you write someone a letter to convince them to listen to you, or, if you're going to call them, like for me, I think we've talked about this too, that making a phone call can be the hardest thing ever. You think, oh, just pick up the phone and call, so you talk about it, so easy, but it can be really, really hard. And so there's a lot of time put into things that you just have no idea. I'm here in the shop when I'm on a deadline for production late, like midnight late, and then you get up the next day and come in. And again, I don't have children or anybody waiting for me to make dinner, except for me. So I'm fortunate in that way, but, just life in general, you have to be able to commit to it's not gonna be easy. It's a lot, especially if you're doing it part-time. It's so much work.
Yeah, it's a side hustle, or you're building it on the side. No, but like you said, that's why it's important. That's why I started the podcast and the accountability group. Like you said in the beginning, surround yourself with people that know more than you, or that are willing to share information.
Right.
Because just regular friends and family, they don't always understand our journey.
Right. So. Well, and the accountability group that we have been having, that you started, has been key this year, because it's regular enough that I can't say, oh yes, here's my folder of things I'm going to do. I have to be able to say, oh, what did I do this week? And even if it wasn't what I said I was going to do, a goal, like I'm reporting progress, and that being able to take a minute and say, oh, I made progress, and this is what happened, then you can build on that. And it's been very helpful to have a check-in, even though I'm not getting a grade on it. Right? I was really good in school because I had a deadline. I was good with deadlines. But
I will always push them, like, last minute. I'm always the last minute person. I try to get better, but deadlines, I will meet them. But like you, I'll be at, in my office till midnight to meet it.
Well, and early in the year, I think we were all like, the minute before, we were like, oh, what did I do this? It was like a pressure to think about what we did at the very last second. But now it's a little more organic. We've done the activities, so we know what we did. We don't have to make up stuff to check off a report. So I think that it built a habit. And so being able to say now, how many you're going to make by the end of the year? Well, if we're going to truly break even, I got to hustle, because that grant money is not supposed to count in there for breaking even.
Right.
So we take out the grant money, I got a ways to go. But, with the grant money, I'm going to break even if I sell 20 more. So, that's doable,
Right.
I cover the grant money, got to do a lot more than that. But, if I had to, now I know what I have to do.
Right.
To break even. And that's not enough. I have to do more to build for more.
Of course, you don't always just want to break even, But I think after this year, it's good to break even, with all the craziness in the world.
If we can break even this year, that's pretty good, considering, so this is another part that I think is probably a little bit interesting for people. It's interesting to me, is that in 2018, I didn't know what I was doing. 2019, by the end of the year, I thought I knew what I was doing. I really did. I was like, had plans. 2020 was going to be amazing. I was laying ground to do expand international and do all of these things. And when everything kind of paused in the great pause, I realized I had no idea what I was doing. If I had expanded internationally, it would have been a disaster because I can't even operate domestically fully in the entire country. So what was I doing thinking I could, just because I know there's a demand there, it doesn't, I was leapfrogging in a way that was not good. And so being able to regroup and reset how I was doing it worked out. So 2020, instead of being this huge year with this massive goal, I made half of what I thought I was shooting for in that big, but I learned so much that 2021 with the grant money, I'll break even. So now 2022, I know what I need to do to like double that. So it's break even and pay some debt and
Right. That's
maybe
good.
take a real vacation. So business owners don't take real vacations, but
When you plan out 2022, you have to factor that in. And when you map everything out. But no, I agree with everything you said. And I can see how, forcing us to sit down and think about our businesses in 2020, of course, I mean, I'm glad you didn't expand to, England. And
oh my goodness, that would have been a disaster in so many ways.
out, you just would have learned some things the hard way when the first shipment, who knows? It would have worked out. It just would have been.
I would have been stuck over in Great Britain. That wouldn't have been bad, but like this business wouldn't exist. So
Right. But in the accountability group, as you said, it's really helpful just to stay on track and be accountable.
yes.
So it's doing what it's supposed to be doing. But you mentioned I don't know if it's a fictional folder with your plans, your marketing goals, and I think because you're also a small business owner, and we're speaking about goals. And I'm trying to sort myself out, and that's why I'm doing all this. Like, there's so many tools for us, right? Like so many programs, and I still cannot really get myself organized. And I think you froze on me. Are you still there? Are you there?
You froze. Are you back?
I
You were frozen on my screen in this beautiful, like, it was like, she's saying something really cool. I can't hear her.
You were like really listening, like on my screen. I'm like, I don't think she's moving. She's just like, oh, let me gather myself here. I don't know what happened. My internet went out. I mean, Zoom is like really messing with me these days.
Yeah.
Of course, it's a good tool, but still, I'm having issues. So you're still hearing me, right?
I can still hear you. I can still see you. You're moving. Everybody's moving.
So what did you hear? Like, what's the last thing I said?
I'm not entirely certain.
But I was getting to your fictional folder of
Oh yes, my fictional folder. Yeah.
Your marketing goals and all these things that you want to work on. And I was just saying, because you mentioned the folder twice, there's so many tools out there for us small business owners or business owners.
Mhm.
And I have the hardest time taking these folders and these notes. And I sign up for these awesome project management tools or just stay on top of things, software, and I'm failing. I'm still I was riding in my car and with my son, I'm like, we were looking at apartments for him. I said, hey, I got a notepad and a pen. You need it? You want to take notes? He's like, no, I'm taking notes already. Like, okay, different generation. But I'm like, what do you do to keep organized in your small business and, so you don't lose track of all these marketing goals you have or your folder of information,
Yeah.
plans and thoughts? How do you
Yeah.
keep yourself?
So I take notes on whatever paper is nearby. Oftentimes it's the back of something that I want for something else. So then I have to transcribe it into something else. And I have like 2 or 3 like books that I have bought specifically to take daily notes in.
Mhm.
They're all in my other desk. And every once in a while I'll take that. I at least keep it in a folder because I'll gather everything up and put it in the one. I'll think, okay, tomorrow I'm gonna just take, an hour and do as much as I can and transcribe what I need or tape it into this book or whatever. It's all in one place. And I never do. And I go back and I find that if I were to make a list of things that I need to do today,
Mhm.
it's on a piece of paper somewhere else. And lately I'm on the next step from what I had before. So even though I didn't have the paper in front of me, I'm still moving ahead. And the fact that I have something to look at on paper, that's just my thing. If I tried to do it electronically, I would end up with the same thing. I would end up with 16 different files. Someone told me not to automate anything that's not already a habit. I have a friend who has spreadsheets for everything, for how much she walks, for how much she eats, for how much, and she keeps them. It's amazing because if she has a spreadsheet, she'll do it. I'm not like that. So I have an app on my phone for tracking what I eat. And all you have to do is, look and say, oh, egg, toast. It's super simple. I'll do it for like a week and then I won't.
So it
So
makes
there's
sense.
like weeks, like 6 weeks over the past year, full week, nothing, so. Yeah,
I
it's
believe
my
it.
style. So the one thing that I did when we were talking about goals, it was part of the accountability thing with that. I wrote down a bunch of vague to specific goals under each category: accounting, marketing, whatever. And that's in one place. And if I looked at it now, I would be able to check some things off or at least see progress because I have a visual of that in my head. It's not hanging up, but might as well could be because I know what it says. And so I don't know. I think you have to find what works for you. And if it doesn't work for you,
Okay.
don't spend money on it.
One day we'll have an assistant to help me with these things.
Right.
So
I'll have so Kirsten is my accountant. I'll have a Kirsten for everything.
Exactly. So we can be creative, or not. I'm not in a creative space, but you know what I mean. Work on my.
Still, yeah.
But I like what your friend said. If it's a habit, don't automate it, and it makes sense.
Yeah, don't create a tool for yourself to track something that you're not already tracking.
Right. Yeah, no,
especially because then if you spend money on a fancy database and you don't actually need to know specifics about every customer, you don't need to know when their birthday is. Don't get that, because all you'll do is spend your time filling out that thing and you won't do what you need with the information. And you'll think, oh, I have to backtrack and enter everybody else. And you'll spend all this time on database entry when what you need to do is figure out where your customers are and go put an ad, in that newspaper, or
right.
That was a really old reference. That probably wouldn't work on that website, get a blog, get an influencer on social media, whatever the current thing is. But yeah, really knowing how to prioritize.
Right.
Someone said that to me at the beginning. Prioritize. And I was like, yeah, how do you know? You have so much to do. How do you know? And
Sure, but it makes sense, because maybe that's why I'm thinking I'm not organized enough, because I hear of all these tools that you could be using, but you don't have to.
Yeah.
So it makes sense, because I do try, like you said, I have a notebook and I try to just use this notebook, so at least I can find all my notes.
Yeah. The one that has worked for me lately for time management thing is, instead of having a to-do list of what you want to do tomorrow, put it in your calendar. Call Michelle, go to the grocery store, pick up your meal, and you could get as granular as you wanted to, but if it's going to take you an hour to get from here to your sister's house and you got to pick something up to go somewhere else to come back, you got to have all that time. You can't just go get it in 10 minutes.
Mhm.
You need an hour to get there, So just thinking of that in a practical sense and putting in your calendar as time blocks instead of to-do list, that's been pretty helpful. I'm trying to get people to schedule appointments with me for conversations. And rather than going back and forth 6 emails, I set up a calendar. A website person, Anya, actually set that up for me. And so, but I wasn't using it because I didn't have my calendar set up correctly. So if you went into that schedule a meeting with me, it looked like I had all the time in the world to talk, but I didn't.
Oh.
Because my calendar wasn't set up that I had to, have a chiropractor appointment. That was on there, that 15-minute block, but getting there and getting back wasn't on there. So, and stopping for, whatever on the way, so now that stuff is blocked out, when people say, oh, I want to have a 15-minute call with you, it's an actual time. I don't have to go back and say, nope, can't meet with you,
Yeah.
So that's helped. But it's been rethinking that to-do list and putting it in terms of time on my calendar. I heard that on a blog somewhere, but so.
But it makes total sense.
Yeah.
Because those are things that come with experience again. Because like I said, one appointment is not just the appointment, what all goes into it around it. You have to block off that time. Otherwise, especially if you're using online scheduling, it's just not going to work for you.
Yeah.
So that's pretty cool. No, that makes sense. Okay, so we know your goals for 2022 are to double your everything.
Probably triple 2022.
Sounds like you're going to have to hire.
That's, yeah. So I've been talking to someone to expand the scanning part of the beginning part of the process to make it DittoForm, to help funnel the data in. So to make more sales. So if somebody else can get that beginning part, then I can make them here. And she asked me, will you have the capacity to make them? If I sell twice as many as you are now, can you make them? Because right now I'm going and selling, I come back and make them. They're like behind me, right? And I have just enough time to sell them and make them and sell them and make them. But if she sells more, like, how am I going to make them?
Right.
So she has a valid point. But if she's selling, that I might get back to the same place. I'm not selling any, but she's right. So,
right.
But that's still just breaking even. And probably even less so because now I'm paying her to do part of it. So they really need to triple the sales. So I do need to hire people on both sides of it, both the selling side and the production side. Because if I can continue to wrap those up at the same time, then, then that profit margin at the end goes bigger. Because if everything is based on breaking even, and then the rest is, my overhead will stay the same. Because the cost of labor and everything is built into the cost of the product. So
makes sense.
So if I make more, I make more. So it's not like expanding it and expanding overhead.
Right. So so 2022, we have growth.
It's growth.
Not just breaking even.
A lot of potential. I've been talking to some people this week about some new ways of doing things, and not really a new product or a huge add-on to what we're doing, but just doing it in a different way that I'd be offering something my competitors are not as of yet doing.
Okay.
So
some additional income revenue stream.
Yeah. So right now I do the torso for a person, which is what you need for basic clothing construction. Even if you're doing, sleeves and things, if you have the shape of your torso, a sleeve is basically usually just a tube, right? Your legs are a tube. And there's more to it than that, which is why if I can add arms and legs to my mannequins, to my DittoForms, then that will be something that doesn't exist. And it would help, for the people who have a bigger bicep, tricep than they do their wrist area, or vice versa, like something, or, just all of that goes into it. It'd just be helpful for some people to have. Again, not everyone will want it or need it, but the ones who do will be willing to pay for it. And so if we can figure out how to do it, it's just something that doesn't currently exist in a readily available form. So if I can figure that out, which will need new equipment, which now I can afford because I have the grants and loans and things. So it's all coming together. So.
Oh yeah, yeah. So you have something to work on, like new business idea to develop here, and
Yeah.
But you'll make it happen. So that's exciting.
Yeah, and so to that, like the way I said it, it makes it all sound like it was just new, but it's been percolating in my brain for years how to figure out how to do it, and just a few things came together in the last week. It's like, oh, that's how I could do it. Logistically, how to put all the parts together and such, so I didn't figure it out for a long time because the answer didn't exist, and now it does. So.
And but it goes again with what we said earlier, that things simply take time.
Yes.
First of all, you have to get situated in your own business, figure everything out. And now that you're at a level that you're comfortable and you know what you're doing, even if it feels sometimes like you don't, but now you can add on, you
right.
have the headspace maybe, and you see more and you can figure it out so it's pretty cool. So any parting words for us entrepreneurs that want to get to where you are?
Well, I would say it's going to echo what you just said. Don't stop. Keep going. Because the only way that you really lose is if you stop. Like you might not win the race, but if the idea is to complete the marathon, we talk to marathon runners, it's not about winning. It's about completing it. And so it's the same thing. It's like the only way you lose is if you stop. If you keep going, it could take you 20 years to finish that marathon, but you're still moving, you're still doing it, And so if you're doing it part-time, you can't dedicate your full time to it. Just don't stop. Just keep doing something.
Right.
To keep going. And yeah.
Okay. I think those are some good parting words. Makes sense. So thank you so much, Carol. I'm going to make sure to have all your information so people can contact you.
See below for the website.
Yeah, I'm new to all this, but I will figure it out. So
all right, awesome.
I thank you so much for, hold on, I don't want to cut you off. I just want to cut off the recording. So thank you so much.